In this movie, I'll show you how to warp type inside of Illustrator. So the idea is this. Traditional type on a circle like we have here works great for long words like tortellini. But as soon as we start going with shorter words like tiger, things start falling apart. And it gets worse with shorter words still. So let's say our client decides they want to branch out and they want to create another product called Tiger Milk. And we're responsible, of course, for creating the logo. But as soon as you replace the word tortellini with milk, things really fall apart for a couple of reasons. First of all, the letters appear to be out of alignment with each other. And that's because Illustrator is vertically aligning each and every letter independently along the bottom of that circle. The second problem, and probably the bigger one, is that a couple of our characters are so wide, in particular the K and especially the M, that they're creating these kind of rectangular forms inside of the circle. What we really want to do is distort the text around the circle like so. And if that's the effect you're looking for, then you're going to have to apply an envelope warp. And let me show you how that works. I'll go ahead and switch back to this version of the document. And I'll turn off the elements layer, and then I'll turn on a text layer. And you can see that I've gone ahead and restored the words tiger and milk without any special tracking or horizontal spacing. I'll start by clicking on a baseline for the word tiger. And then you want to go up here to the control panel and notice this make envelope option. First of all, click the down pointing arrowhead and go ahead and select make with warp. Then click on the Make Envelope icon in order to bring up the Warp Options dialog box. By default, the style is set to Arc. You have a lot of different styles to choose from, and you can check them out on your own. But Arc is the effect we want. And then go ahead and turn on the Preview checkbox. And by default, you'll see a bend value of plus 50, which initially looks to be pretty darn good. So I'll go ahead and click OK in order to accept that effect. And then I want to go ahead and move the word tiger down. My black arrow tool is selected, so I can press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac in order to bring up the Move dialog box. I'll change the Move value to something like, 80. I'm just guessing here. And make sure the Preview checkbox is turned on. And you can see that that's a pretty good move, potentially. However, I don't have enough bend assigned to my text. So I'll go ahead and accept this positioning value for now and click OK. If you want to modify the bend for an existing warp object, you go up to this bend value here in the control panel and you change it. And I ended up coming up with a bend value of 72 degrees, by the way, for this text. It appears that my text is still too high, however, so I'll go ahead and press the Enter key again, or the Return key on the Mac to bring up the Move dialog box. And let's start with the vertical value of 20, see where we get. And I'll just increase that value by pressing the up arrow key. So I'm nudging it upward until the text appears properly vertically centered inside the top half of the design. And at a vertical value of 34 points, it looks like I've got it right. So I'll just go ahead and click the OK button in order to apply that change. All right, now click off the text to deselect it. Let's run something similar on the word milk. I'll go ahead and click on its baseline to select it. And then I'll click on the Make Envelope icon up here in the control panel. And this time I need a negative bend value. So I'll take this guy down to negative 50%, let's say. And again, looks pretty darn good. So I'll click OK. Now I'll press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac to bring back the Move dialog box. And let's try a vertical value of negative 34. What the heck? And that's not enough. So I'll reduce the value by pressing the down arrow key until I raise the characters to a better location. And it looks to me like negative 45, I don't know, something like that works good for now. But I don't have enough bend for my text, so I'll click OK. And I'll go up to the bend value up here in the control panel, and I'll take it down to negative 58%, which moves the characters down too far. So I'll press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac a couple of times in order to bring up the Move dialog box. Let's try a value of negative 30, and that's not enough, so I'll take that value down to about there, negative 33. Actually, let's try negative 32. And then I'll click OK. Now, problem here is I'll press Control H or Command H on a Mac to hide those selection edges. Am I wrong, or does it look like the M is bending up too high? And if that ends up happening to you, if you experience this kind of effect, then what you want to do is just slightly rotate the characters And you can do that by going to the Effect menu, choosing Distort and Transform, and then choosing the Transform command. And if you loaded D keys, I've given you a keyboard shortcut of Control-E or Command-E on a Mac. And I'm just going to take that angle value up to 1 degree, turn on the Preview checkbox, and that seems to do the trick. Doesn't completely solve the problem. The bottom of the K is coming up a little too high. But the M looks great, and we're kind of splitting the difference, so this is good. I'll click OK in order to accept that change. Now, at this point, let's say you want to modify the word milk. I'll press Control-H or Command-H on the Mac to show you what we have now is an envelope object, and I can't get to it with the type tool. I can't actually drag over that text to select it, and you can see that's the case because as opposed to just seeing a standard I-beam cursor, which is what you see when you're editing text, I'm seeing an I-beam inside of a dotted square, which tells me I'll create a new text object. Well, to edit the text inside of the envelope, you go up here to the control panel to the second icon, Edit Contents, and you click on it. And now you've got access to your baseline. Even though it doesn't look like the text is sitting there, it is. So just go ahead and click on the baseline with the type tool and then press Control-A or Command-A on a Mac to select all of that text and enter new text such as Mart. Now, you don't want to enter a ton of text because notice Illustrator is going to try to squish it into that space that you started with. So you want your text to be about the same size. And if you only enter a single character, it's going to fan out into that big envelope. But the word Mart works great, so I'll go ahead and enter it and then press the Escape key in order to escape out of the text entry mode. And then if you want to switch back to your envelope options, you would click on that first icon, Edit Envelope, up there in the control panel, and you regain access to your Ben value, for example. And that's how you warp text to distort the characters around a circle here inside Illustrator.